such a threat. His patience, his running style is something we haven't seen. I've never seen a running back so patient and so poised, with the storm around him. And also, he's probably their second best receiver in the game as well. When Le'Veon's out there, he's such a threat. He opens everything else up for everybody else.
Listen, all we need to know is what the Steelers think of him. The Steelers have needs. Now, I think the Steelers can be the best team in the league this year, but they are not a perfect team. They still have not filled the void left by Ryan Shazier after his devastating injury. I think they need help at the safety position. They certainly could upgrade the tight end position. If you thought James Conner, who's going to make $700,000 this year, and who you had all of last year, who you scouted closely because he went to Pitt, you drafted him not this year but last year, if you thought he was 70% of L. Bell, you don't spend $14 million against the cap this year. Not some franchise tag hits you all right now. That's 7% of your cap. That is a middle linebacker and a safety. That is a top-of-the-market tight end. That's Jimmy Graham. Like, there are opportunities there to upgrade your team if you think, well, we can get nearly as much production. They know they can't. They're saying this now because they are trying to spin the story and try to put extra pressure on L. Bell to show up.
Hurt feelings.
Absolutely. And by the way, James Conner, I know he was an All-American. He was a player of the year in his conference before he had the cancer diagnosis. He is a great story, and he might end up being a really good player. L. Bell is one of the best players of his era. Those guys are not. Those guys. It's not next man up with those guys.
Yeah. No.
It's never next man up with those guys.
No, and it's about his versatility. That's the thing that makes him special, what separates him from most of the running backs in the NFL. You're talking about a handful of guys that can do things that are similar to what L. Bell can do. Todd Gurley, David Johnson, and that's about it. So, I mean, it's going toward the direction of what we saw with Marshall Faulk, greatest show on turf. That's the skill set that Lev Bell brings to the table. So that's a big piece of your offense that's going to be missing in week one.
But is it enough of a drop-off whereby the Browns could actually take advantage and do some damage here?
The Browns are going to have to get out of their own head. See, I'm not concerned with the guys that they brought from the outside of the organization. I'm concerned with the guys that's inside, because what happens is, they end up becoming front runners because they've seen this movie before. They've been in big games with the Steelers, and the Steelers always find a way to beat them. So they got to get out of their own head, because the first time something goes wrong, they're going to revert to, we always lose to the Steelers. So it's going to take somebody getting them over the hump. They're going to have to get out to a fast start and say, okay, we can beat these guys, because if they don't, the guys that have been there is going to say, there's Big Brother beating up on us again.
I want to ask you a question about the versatility of L. Bell before we get to the contract situation, the comments from his teammates. As a guy that played linebacker and sometimes would get split out, I would imagine, in coverage against a running back, how different is your job when there's a guy like L. Bell out there splitting out, or a guy like James Conner out there who at this moment has 0 career catches?
James Conner's, his routes are going to be sloppy. They're not going to be crisp. I'm not going to respect that he understands what defensive coverage I'm in. He's not going to know if I'm bracketing him, if I'm playing outside leverage, inside leverage. I'm going to play games with him. I'm going to go up and back on him all the time. With Bell, he already knows what the defense is, because he can look over and he can see the safety, rotate the safety. He's in cover 1. So if I'm going to run inside, I got to get it and turn it up. Or if he's in cover 2, he knows how to break his route off, understanding that I got to maintain inside leverage. See, young guys don't understand that. Lev Bell understands the nuances of the receiver position, so it puts so much pressure on you. He's going to eat up 2 guys. See, they'll put me and they'll isolate me one-on-one on what's his name?
James Conner.
What's his name again?
James Conner.
Yeah, that guy.
Wow.
Yeah, they'll put me out there on that guy one-on-one, no help. I got to get help, so it's going to open up somebody else like Juju, right? Yeah, it's going to open something up for Juju. No, I know Juju. I always get Juju mixed up with Zay Jones. I don't know why.
They're same draft, same round. No problem. Don't worry about it.
One was naked in the hallway. One was,
wow, I can't believe you worked that in there. All right.
But so all of a sudden, if L. Bell's out there, you guys are playing with 1 less defender. That's the baseline of it, right? Because 2 guys have to account for him.
And we got to come in the box. It's going to open everything up for AB and Juju, because somebody's going to get the one-on-one, and these guys proven that they can take advantage of the one-on-one. I'm trying to stop the run game with 7. If what's his name again? James Conner's out there.
Well, here's what I'll say about that.
He didn't make my scouting report.
James Conner is not Le'Veon Bell. We know that, and it's going to be a big drop-off. There's a big piece missing from your offense. But what you do have is continuity with that group up front that's responsible for opening the holes for the running back. This is the 3rd consecutive season that this offensive line would have been together. So I think that's going to be important in terms of trying to develop a running game especially early in the season, knowing that you don't have Lev Bell. Last year was a down year for the Steelers in the running game, so they're looking to bounce back. That has to be a part of this group's mentality, try to have more balance on the offensive side. I think you'll see the touches from James Conner, the commitment to trying to run the football, but ultimately the difference makers for this Steelers offense are in the passing game.
Well, wait, quickly before we move on, how long do you think this holdout is going to last? I mean, when do you think you're going to see El Bell?
This is tough because I think that he understands that he's a rental. He doesn't want to be abused and have them put all this workload on him, knowing that they're going to move on for him. It was disrespectful because he's looked at Antonio Brown last year, and he had a dispute. They paid him his money.
Yeah.
We understand the life expectancy of a running back in this game. So he's like, you guys aren't going to use me up and then put me on the market. I'm not going to be able to cash in. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back was when Todd Gurley got paid. He wasn't even asking for money. So here they are in Los Angeles, and they have a greater appreciation for him. And everybody was talking about the guaranteed money that Lev Bell was asking for. Well, Todd Gurley, they just voluntarily gave it to him. He's been better. You know, you think about Todd, he had an up year, he had a down year, he was back up last year. Lev Bell has been consistent. And then when you want to try and air out dirty laundry on me and try and say, oh, well, he's in the second step of the program, then now you're trying to assassinate my character, and you're not talking about what I am as a player on the football field and my value. So why am I going to come in? It's like being married. Right? Being married and you're getting a divorce, you know you got to move out. I'm not going to fix all those projects that I got going on over the house.
Well,
I can care less.
To stick with the analogies you've been using all day about cars, it's how do you treat a rental car and how do you treat a car you own? If you got a rental car, you are not putting in the expensive gas. You don't care if you hit a curb. You are smoking inside of it, windows up. Like, it doesn't matter.
Quit telling yourself.
I'll never let you borrow my car.
No problem. But it's not like it's a rental car.
Yeah.
And that is their problem next week. The Steelers know that Le'Veon Bell is playing for a different team next year. They know he's a great player. And by the way, already in his career, you know who's the all-time NFL record holder for touches per game? Le'Veon Bell. So they already use him at a super high level. So I totally understand why his agent would be concerned, why he would be concerned. And one other thing that the America needs to know about how the Steelers do business. Great franchise, 6 Super Bowls, got it. Well, even AB accepted a terrible deal. I'm glad he got his money. He seems happy with it. But AB's guaranteed money ran out after 1 year. He is year to year with the Steelers now. Yep. And so the only reason he's still there is because he is outperforming the money they are paying him. The Steelers have a general philosophy. If you do not play quarterback, we will not guarantee you money past 1 year. So they leaked to the media, we offered him 4 years, 60. But with $15 million guaranteed 1 year. He's got $15 million guaranteed as is. So the Steelers don't get to play naive at this. They don't get to say, oh, the greedy player. You guys could have prevented this a couple times. You chose not to. Now, that's their prerogative. They are allowed to do business as they want. But what you can't do is do business the way you want and then expect no repercussions.
Right.
Expect the player to just fall in line. And so that is where we've got to be fair to both sides of this. El Bell isn't a perfect player, and he is in the drug program. So if you don't want to give him money, fine. But then don't be surprised that he don't show up to work when everybody else does.
Quickly, the options are what? He comes in and signs his tender and then plays? Or what? He hopes that the team trades him somehow or offers him a contract?
He will play for the Steelers this year. The question is when.
Okay.
Yeah.
They can trade him, though, but, they can't. The next team can't offer a contract. So
it doesn't fix the situation.
What people don't know is it's a out in most contracts. It's skill deprivation, and if you don't have that in your policy, they can say, okay, you didn't run for as many yards as last year, so we're terminating your contract.
Absolutely.
All right, Bart, thank you so much for joining us. This was fun today.
Thank you.
Had a lot of fun. Coming up, are the Cowboys in for a rude awakening?